Hello everyone, welcome back to the Opulent Life. Today we are going to be doing a review of two interesting perfumes that I received as gifts while I was on travel to my home country, and I got these as free gifts with the purchase of some clothing. And these are two perfumes. One is for men, one is for females. One is They are by the brand Bonanza, Satrangi, and the one for her is Ruby, and the one for men is called Safari. So they're both eau de parfum. They're both 30 mils, and I got them by after I purchased some ethnic clothing, and we received these as uh, gifts from the brand. I didn't pay for them. However, this brand has been launching some new perfumes, so I thought it would be interesting to do a review of these. I don't have pricing information available, but I can tell you that in dollars, these would approximately, based on the other collection that they have available and the other perfumes they have online, uh, these would be roughly around, I would say, $10 to $15 at the most, each of them. Of course, the larger sizes may be a little bit more, but this would not be more than $10 each. So that is really relatively cheap, but cheap can only go so far. It's the quality that really matters. And we're going to put that to the test. We won't be able to do a long-term review of this right now. I'm certainly planning on doing that later. However, we can at least get our first impression and see if these are even worth it. I did not use any testers in the store to see how these are, so this is going to be a complete surprise for me. It's going to be a full unboxing without any prior experience of any of these perfumes or the brand itself. So let's get into it. Let's start with the men's one first, and we'll see. So I'm just going to take it off this cellophane and see. It's going to be a little bit challenging with gloves, but I'm going to try. There we go. Okay, so packaging is nothing special. It's just your typical black cardboard with some checkered printing on the sides, left and right. You have the branding at the top, and in the middle you have Safari for men on a silver background, 30 mils, 1 fluid ounce. You have the batch code. Interestingly, they actually have the expiration written on it, which is June of 2029. So it is recommended to use this before this date. Interesting. Stored in a cool, dry place for external use only. So we don't have any ingredients listed here, and of course actually we do have the ingredients here on the back. Not much listed here. I would expect it to have a little more detail, but again, regulations vary from country to country, and if you don't have regulations that make you put every single ingredient at the back, then most likely manufacturers are not going to do that. We won't be able to check batch codes on this because this is not really an international brand that is known for manufacturing cosmetics and fragrances in large amounts, so we don't really have a batch code per se that we could use to check in Czech Cosmetic. And again, this is typical of smaller brands that are local and not renowned worldwide or have an international presence as a luxury designer fragrance house. So that's something that we are going to be limited to. Anyway, let's take it out. Let's see the presentation. I have not even seen the presentation of this. So inside you just have the website written. Not a whole deal of quality packaging. You can see it's already kind of giving away from the edges, and there's no inner that you would see in perfumes. Actually, there might be. Let me just take this out first. It's like a cylindrical bottle. So there is an inner in here. Pretty minimal and basic packaging. Nothing to comment about, nothing special or spectacular. So here it is then. We have a cylindrical bottle. It's a nice travel size type perfume, maybe a slightly bigger than a travel size, but still Actually, I would call it a travel size because 30 mils is kind of the threshold. I prefer my travel size bottles to be a little bit smaller, like 15 to 10 mils, but this can perfectly be used as a travel size if you're going on a long-term trip. So this is what we have. Very simple cylindrical bottle. You have a dark brown cap. At the bottom, what do I see? I just see eau de parfum, external use only, made in the UAE. So this is made in Dubai, I'm assuming. Nice to know that. Okay. And then we just have the branding, logo, and the name of the perfume. Nothing else on it. Let's open it up. Okay. Plastic top. Pretty flimsy. Nothing luxury coming out of this one. So don't expect any magnetic caps or fancy coverings or metal caps or magnetic caps. And then you have a pretty plain looking atomizer. Let's pump it up and try it. Actually, the atomizer is pretty good. Okay, so I'm giving it a bit of a whiff now. And let me put this cap back on. I'm gonna let it settle down and see what it feels like. So it's definitely masculine. I'm getting a lot of pepper, amber, woody notes, typical men's fragrance notes, a little bit synthetic. Not I can imagine there's not a lot of naturals in here. There's amber, there's patchouli for sure, there's some vanilla and musk in the base. So I think this is your run-of-the-mill men's fragrance for evening wear, going out at night. It could be an office scent. It's inoffensive. I would not, however, recommend applying this in large amounts because this might get to your nerves, the syntheticness of it. It can get a little harsh if you overdo it, but it's nice. It's okay. I mean, I can't complain. It's a free gift, and for a brand that's just starting out in fragrances, and fragrances not being their primary source of income, they're really known for their clothing, which is pretty good, by the way. So, you know, it's a nice side hustle, I would say, on part of the brand. A lot of brands have been coming out with perfumes in Pakistan. So this is where it's from. And most of those fragrances are being manufactured in Dubai. So this is no surprise that this one is from the UAE. And I think that this one, I've tried another few as well from in the same category that have been manufactured in Dubai, are made by designer clothing designer houses in Pakistan. They pretty much smell very similar, and their longevity is also very similar. There's not a lot of variety in them. I'm assuming it's the same house that's making the fragrances for all of these brands, so there's not a lot of unique selling points between each of these. They smell very, very similar, and their longevity is pretty similar because they're using the same chemicals. So I'm just as I'm talking to you guys, I'm also checking it out on my skin. There is some good sillage, I'll say that. It is definitely constructed like eau de parfum. It's not vaporizing too much, but it's not setting on the skin too much either. So it's a good balance. However, I feel that this would not differentiate you from the pack if you're wearing this. This is very generic, generic men's musky fragrance, and amber, leather, tonka, pepper in there. It's your standard run-of-the-mill fragrance. It's not something that I would get super excited about. So that's all there is to it. I'm just gonna put this to the side, and let's focus on the next one and see what that is. So here's the next one. Now, this is a ladies fragrance. Let's open this up. Okay, let's open this up. This one's called Ruby. So I'm assuming that this is probably going to have a lot more florals in it, and maybe some rose, not rose absolute, of course. That would be on the price point, but somewhere along the lines of that. All right, let's see. So before I open it up, actually, so you have cardboard packaging. This time it is a highly reflective red color with some gold accents, some tree branches on the center that go around the box, and then you have Ruby for her written in the center on the backdrop of a circle of red with a gold circle outline. And this gold band extends all the way to the back. On the back you have pretty much the same ingredients as the last one, not too detailed. Then you have branding in the front, bottom front. This is also 30 ml. It's an eau de parfum. And then again, it looks like my transportation has done a number on this packaging, so it's a little bit bent out, but still okay. And the bottom you have again the same expiration date, so I'm assuming that these are both from the same batch. You have the barcode and instructions for storing it. So let's open it up. Identical, but not super identical. So this time, instead of a cylinder, you have a cuboid, rectangular cuboid type bottle. Okay, and that in comparison was light brown in color. The liquid is more orange. It's a little harder to see the name. It says Ruby. It's identical as the packaging. At the bottom, you again have the same information, made in UAE, 30 ml eau de parfum. The cap is also plastic, and this time it's silver. So let's try it out, shall we? Different area of the skin. Atomizer is actually pretty cool. I like the atomizers on these. All right, so okay, so immediately I can tell that this is your typical ladies fragrance. Let's put them together on the side. Now, as I'm trying this out, actually it's gonna roll a lot, so let's just put this one like this over here for now. So this is your typical ladies fragrance with a lot of, you know, synthetic rose, some oils. Yeah, and this is definitely very classic 1980s. I can imagine older females would like this a lot more than, you know, ladies of this era. Gen Z and millennials may not like this too much because this is so classic. This is so old school. I remember my grandmother wearing something like this back when I was a child, and this brings back memories of that for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of rose, pink pepper, perhaps. I was actually able to look up the ingredients. So there is some, I do agree with some of them. There is some lilac, there's some bergamot, there's some pink pepper, as I mentioned, Madura fruit. Now I am getting notes of rose in here. They don't mention that on the website, but I am getting very strong notes of rose, and I'm pretty sure it's not rose absolute, but it may be a formulation or oil that they're using to mimic the feeling of rose. It definitely has that note in there buried somewhere. It's also got some patchouli as well. So not a very complex note breakdown. And as it settles down, I'm not getting a lot of variety either. And same goes for this one. It's settling down, but it's not really evolving into something new. As you would see with some of the more high-end designer fragrances, they tend to evolve a little bit. I can imagine that these would last maybe a couple of hours at the most, and then after that, you know, maybe 3 hours, max 4 hours if the weather permits. But after that, they're pretty much going to be dead. However, I mean, they're okay for, you know, travel fragrances for short periods of time. I think of the two of these, I think this is definitely a little bit nicer. This one tends to, it feels a little bit more rough around the edges, but this one is a little nicer. Maybe this might actually last a little longer too, based on what I'm feeling right now. And the scent that I'm getting, this might actually be a little bit more versatile as well. This might work for daytime wear, evening wear, and night wear as well. This, on the other hand, I don't know, maybe it can work for daytime wear, but it seems more like a night out fragrance for very formal occasions or maybe office wear. This is definitely more formal. This can be perhaps used in more casual events as well. Now, again, the age demographic for this would be females. I would imagine 45 plus. I don't see less than 45-year-olds wearing this. Now for this, same goes here. I mean, this is very old school. I can imagine men in their late 40s and 50s preferring this rather than someone young and in, you know, Gen Z or millennials. I don't think they're gonna cater to this very much because they're more into the more vibrant stuff that's going on these days and not so much the old school musks. So these are two interesting fragrances. I decided to do a quick review and share my initial thoughts with you. Not possible to do a full performance review right now, but we'll maybe touch base on these later sometime and do a long-term comparison review. Until then, guys, take care. Bye-bye.